We are data mining a suspicious amount of new mechanical models that have nothing to do with 10.2 or the Emerald Dream, from this goblin-like armor set to these new siege engine models. Even more interestingly, we got yet another Zealot hint in 10.2, and we know that the prophecy talks about awakening Azeroth. Seeing that 10.2 may be it for Dragonflight, Irenicon could be moved for the next expansion, and as you may know, he's all about deep places. Goblins in Undermine dug too deep, he had discovered Azerite, so what if this is the entrance point to the World Soul of Azeroth? Irenicon seems to be after it, and he wants to bait the Titans, likely by messing with the World Soul, which means that we are not going to a new continent, but to underground, to Azeroth herself. That could be exactly why they tested Zerala Caverns in the first place in this expansion, so what are all the hints for 11.0? Even if 10.2 is ending, there is still a whole new patch that is about to be released, and there is no better way to prepare for 10.2 and 10.1.7 than U.GG. As I play a Fury Warrior, I can find the best performing build for the current patch with the most optimal gear, best in slot, enchants, gems, trinkets, and that is really only just one aspect of U.GG. You can also discover tier lists to see what classes are the best performers as DPS, healers, tanks, and this isn't only for raiding but also for mythic plus PvP, and it is the best data from the very best of WoW players, just straight out precise info. Best of all, it is super easy to get used to that you can find all you need in only 1 minute with U.GG. So make sure to click the link in the description, check out U.GG, and optimize your WoW performance for 10.1.7 completely free. I'm pretty sure all of you are already familiar with the themes of the Azeroth's World Soul, the Awakening. If you may remember, that is pretty much how Dragonflight started, although they never actually addressed this in any significant way, but there was something with the World Soul and the Dragon Isles. The Dragon Isles appeared due to something happening to it, then as Dragonflight went on, we got these lore hints that she may be elemental in nature and that Azeroth is not a Titan whatsoever, but it has always been vague, so they have been talking about her, setting it up non-stop, but nothing has been confirmed. However, then we started getting Zealot hints, and I wanna give it the most recent one, fresh from the 10.2 PTR. We got this item called an Omnious Artifact, which is obviously a setup for Zealot happening soon. It talks about the old god writing on an artifact, and it says, I do remember hearing a rather odd rumor about a void creature trapped in a weapon of some sort. I shudder to think there are other such artifacts. Personally, I would say this is a massive hint. I mean, in the past we got these little rumor hints, Dragon Isles being a rumor, and here we are right now. They're definitely setting something up with Zealot, but interesting enough, she might not even turn out to be an old god, and she may actually be a void creature, which could completely set something different than us believing she's a fallen 5th old god. The reason I'm bringing this is they're obviously making Zealot relevant again in 10.2, and so far the pre-10.1 prophecy has been coming true, and something is definitely going on. So first of all, it's said that the primal power seeks the end of order, and such rage can be bent to serve our ends. This is obviously Irenicon. We saw the Zealot figure in the portal behind him. It also said our hunger lost through the ages will be reclaimed. Guess what happened? I mean, exactly with Galakrond, the hunger from lost through the ages was reclaimed. Most interestingly, by this document, Zealot should be the Harbinger, and it says that she will fulfill the final prophecy and complete the Awakening, which almost certainly talks about the World Soul of Azeroth being relevant. However, other interesting thing that it mentions is that the Harbinger gathers the children of the First Flesh to reclaim what was lost, and that they must remember their vows and serve those to whom they owe fealty. We still of course don't know who these guys are, but interesting enough, that lines up with that leaked cinematic still we got, with an Irenicon figure and a Drogbar underground looking humanoid figure right in the front, and these could be the Children of Flesh. Of course, could just be BS AI art, but it does line up with this theory. However, why do you think we could actually be going inside Azeroth in 11.0? Well, the main reason for that is there is actually evidence for something like this happening. First of all, I want to say that Blizzard debunked the Pirate expansion happening. They also debunked that 11.0 will be an Old God expansion. Now, obvious nuance here, keep in mind, by debunked Old God expansion, they didn't say they won't appear, just that the entire expansion isn't going to be about them. They don't want to constrain themselves to a single team, and instead they want multiple things happening at the same time. So, for example, Dragon Dragon Isles, Dragon Aspects, the Emerald Dream. However, what are these actual hints that we just got from 10.2 PTR? Well, first of all, despite no pirates happening, we're actually data mining new flying ships, and we are data mining new ship models as well. Keep in mind, when they said no pirates, they probably meant no island expeditions, no pirate ships, or a pirate-themed expansion. But what about flying? We not only data mine new flying ship models, but we also have an encrypted cosmetic set known as the Sky Captain's Masquerade attire, which at the moment is not actually connected to anything relevant in Dragonflight. Keep in mind, we have data mined whole expansions with this much info in the past. However, a bit of a crazy theory, so bear with me here for a second, but what if you're not flying to another continent, but flying inside Azeroth? I know, crazy, but let me just explain why I think this could be a possibility. So, in 10.2, we are data mining a really strange number of mechanical things that obviously don't have anything to do with the Emerald Dream. Spoilers here, but we data mined the ending of 10.2 already. We shouldn't expect to see anything related to these data mined items. We got siege engine models, we got this strange looking dark iron siege engine out of the blue. Most interestingly, we data mined this really big Daenerys Wasteland armor set with this really strange Mad Max kind of style, like really goblin looking. We even got this backpack that is obviously of goblin origin, which really signals the undermined theory that a lot of people have been talking about, something mechanical, mechanome type style. Bear with me, I know it is a little crazy, but remember that Blizzard decided to do this really experimental thing with the Zerala Caverns, a huge underground zone, and in a ton of interviews they talked about how they want to try something completely new, and they constantly asked for feedback on this cave. What if this was the testing ground to shape the next expansion? First of all, Blizzard has been deep in 11.0 development for a long time already, and remember, Undermine, a huge goblin city that we never actually visited right on the Isle of Kazan, exists. Now, you may be thinking, I mean, who cares? We have plenty of lore zones that we never visited, but once again, bear with me. So the leading theory, and not my speculation theory, like this is the official Blizzard theory, that Kazan blew up not because of Deathwing, but because of Azerite that was dug there. There was something really big around Kazan, and the goblins may have dug too deep. Furthermore, it is on Kazan that Khajiit was found, and aside from Azeroth, possibly the most potent material that we know of. That is because it might actually be similar to Azerite. Remember, goblins evolved with Khajiit into really intelligent beings. Remember that trolls evolved into spellcasters through the Well of Eternity, which, as we know, is the blood of the World Soul. So the idea is that Kazan and Undermine may just be our entry point here. Why is this even more relevant? Well, first of all, it was hinted that Iridikron knows the deep places of Azeroth, that he's doing something crazy to bring the Titans into Azeroth. We haven't seen anything in Dragonflight yet. Now, by all the accounts, since we data mined the ending of 10.2, it seems like that it is for Dragonflight, and that we will be moving the entire Iridikron Zelta thing into the next expansion, which is probably going to be related to these deep places. Now, that brings us to Avaloran. I know you heard about it a million times, but remember, on Avaloran, Titan Forge rebelled in the ages past against the Titans. Odin, that is like a Titan Order fanatic, sent 3 failed expeditions, and the heretic defenses were too strong, and he said he's going to wait for them to turn onto each other, as is their nature. Now, we don't know anything about these guys, as well as those Earthen that turned into dwarves without having anything to do with the actual dwarves, and they may be onto something here. Iridikron clearly stated that he wants to get rid of Titan Order. The Dragon Aspects, and big spoilers here for the ending of 10.2, they seem to be empowered together with Myranaut as new aspects of Azeroth, aspects of life, but not Titan aspects, just the aspects of Yggdrasil. Do you think it is likely that Iridikron is teaming up with the original Titan Order rebels in order to accomplish this mission and bring the Titans to Azeroth? By all the other accounts, it might seem that the dragons could turn against the Titans as well, but they don't seem to be working together with Iridikron. It's like 2 plans at the same time. He said in the cinematic that we will see the Titans don't care about us, and when he starts pressing what they hold most dear, which is obviously the World Soul of Azeroth, they will arrive. So I would totally see the war trying to awaken Azeroth, and that forces the Titans that, as you may know, are revived to come to Azeroth, but they're also significantly weakened. This could of course be a Void expansion, but it could also be based around the inner part of Azeroth, like the actual chamber, and the entire expansion could be about saving the World Soul of Azeroth. This also lines up perfectly with what they said. They don't want expansions to be about one thing, but multiple things at the same time. So this is a Void invasion that could be linked up with the Titan Order destruction that continues on the Dragonflight storyline. Furthermore, as Undermine could be a really important link to the World World Soul of Azeroth, it could be a whole nother patch where we get a Goblin storyline and get a brand new city on this. If Goblins get a city, it could also prompt Blizzard to finally do something with Gnomeregan as well, as you know, Goblins and Gnomes are always connected. I know a bit of a stretch here, but bear with me. What if under Khazan Deep and Undermine there is the actual entrance to the World Soul, like the main chamber where they dug and they triggered some sort of a failsafe mechanism that blew up the entire island and forced them to abandon it? Or what if they could discover those rebellious Titanforge that just blew them up? I know, crazy theories, but you gotta admit there could definitely be something here, especially when you line it up with the data mined items. Right now though, we're data mining these armor sets, mechanical things, so something could definitely be happening. Thank you for watching. Check out how Dragonflight is ending all the data mine information by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Slavic pirates and Vikings by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.